Welcome one more time to Formarte English Academy. Well, we're going to start today our lesson number one. Very quick, you can turn to page 10 on your booklet and we can start right away. Let's go very quick to our unit and you will see in unit one, the one that says getting to know you. As you can see, this unit starts with a speaking part. And remember that in each unit, we are going to focus on some specific parts of the test. In this unit, we're going to focus on part one of the speaking test, and also we're going to focus on the listening part four of the test. So those are like the main parts of the test that this unit is going to help us on. And also in general, we're going to see some grammar. Also, we're going to practice some reading, some vocabulary in general. But in specific, those are the parts that we are going to practice. Okay, first of all, let me explain to you very quick how part one of the speaking test works. So let's check that right away. Okay, and let's read together this part. In general, this is one of the is a very easy part because they're going to ask you some personal questions. So I guess that they do this because well, they know that at the beginning, we're a little bit nervous, and they're going to start some just personal questions about you and your life, your hobbies, so on. But we need to be very careful in just some details. So let's just check that right away. Okay, it says here, the first part of the CAE speaking exam only lasts 2 minutes. The examiners know that you will be feeling nervous, what I was telling you, and so these questions are relatively straightforward about you and your life. These are aimed at helping you warm up and feel more relaxed. Typical questions may be, what do you enjoy about learning English? Or if you could have one wish, what would it be? Your answers need to be approximately 2 or 3 sentences. Your initial answer to the question and a further explanation, such as why you feel that way. Uh, the CAE exam is an advanced level exam, and so short answers are not going to get you any points. So that's very important. Please don't answer short answers. You need to really learn how to talk, and expand a little bit your answers. So it says here, yeah, the CAE exam is an advanced level, as we were saying, and so short answers are not going to get you any points. Also, it's important to remember that the more you speak, the more opportunity you will have to use all the C1 level vocabulary you have learned. So for example, let's see a very quick example. And well, talking about vocabulary, in a moment you will see that for each of the units, each unit has some vocabulary words. So it's very, very important for us to be able to check those words. If we don't know the words, check them in the dictionary, try to use them in this speaking part. Remember that for the speaking test, for us to be able to practice the speaking test, we're going to be using some practice, live practice, because we need to really work with you regarding speaking, and I really need to listen to you and so on. But we will explain to you how we're going to be doing that. But meanwhile, you can practice in your house and try to use this vocabulary that we're going to be working in each unit. So it says here, let's see an example. Well, what do you like most about learning English? Well, some possible answer can be just, well, speaking. This does not give the examiner any idea about your level, and also makes you seem unwilling to communicate, which will not give him or her a good impression of you as a communicator. Not speaking results in what is called dead air, wasted speaking time. There is no point going to a CAE speaking exam and not speak. You need to use every second of your time. That said, don't dominate make sure your partner has equal speaking time. Okay. So again, this is an example. Of course, please don't answer short answers. And something very important is that, of course, we are in an advanced level, so that's what they want is for you to talk. Sometimes, well, they in the test they will just say thank you. When they say thank you, that means that you need to stop. Okay, so once they say thank you, because it's better for them to tell you thank you and for you to stop than for you to don't for you not to be able to speak. Remember, dead air in this test, or yeah, in all of these parts of the speaking test, dead air is a crime. So please don't just talk and talk until the person in front of you tells you thank you. Okay, we have here a possible answer. It says, I like speaking and vocabulary, but I find grammar difficult. Well, that can be an answer. In this answer, you're not really saying anything interesting or demonstrating your knowledge of C1 vocabulary. It's quite a dual answer and will not make you stand out from the other CAE exam candidates. So, what would be like the best answer? Definitely in this case, give you this example number 3, which says it will help. I'm sorry, it will have to be learning new phrases and using them when I speak. The vocabulary is so rich that I can express myself in a variety of ways depending on who I am talking to. This is helpful as it enables me to communicate with people from all 4 corners of the earth and all walks of life. So further explanation. So this is just a quick example. It's not that you really need to use this answer, but in general, it's very important for you to know that these answers, they need to be very long, kind of long, just talk about different things and so on. And we're going to see some practice or we're going to see some real questions in a moment. So one thing to remember is that you need to listen carefully to the tense or grammatical structure using the question and use appropriate ones in your answer. For example, in the question, if you could have one wish, what would it be? In CAE examiners are expecting you to use would plus the verb in your answer as it is hypothetical, right? If the question, how will your life be different in 5 years' time? You should use some sort of future form, right? So this is just in general. If they're going to ask you a yes no question, well, do you like whatever? Yes, I do, and you just continue, right? But they really want for you to be able to answer in the proper grammar way. If they ask you in the present perfect, well, they are expecting for you to answer in the present perfect. So in general, that's what we really need to learn about this speaking part 1 of this test. So very quick, if we can just go to our booklet, we have some examples of these questions and you can practice them in your house. For example, what would be your ideal way to spend a weekend? Or do you prefer to work or study on your own or with other people? Or how important is it for you to keep up with the news? So we have here 8 different questions for you to practice at home. And you can even pause a little bit this video so that you can practice answering these questions in a proper way. Remember that pretty soon we're going to be doing together a speaking test. So because that's very important and I can give you some feedback on how you're doing regarding this part. So again, you can pause a little bit this video and just practice these questions right now. Okay, well, once you have practiced these questions, remember I was telling you it's very important for you to practice the vocabulary words that this test or each of these units gives us. And this is one of those vocabulary words that we need to practice. So we have the first one, which is conscientious or narrow-minded, courageous, unconventional, competent, down-to-earth, outgoing, decisive, knowledgeable, and persuasive. These are, well, some adjectives that sometimes are very important for us to use, not only in the speaking, but we're going to be able to use them in or see these words in the reading part also. But again, this part over here of the vocabulary is very important for you to practice or to do, because I really want for you to be able to learn and to manage this vocabulary. If you don't know what some of these words mean, please look at them in the dictionary. Once you have the meaning, once you have studied these words, please, I want for you to do this vocabulary part and just complete sentences from 1 to 10 using these vocabulary words. So that will be your first task regarding this unit. Okay. Uh, Later on, we're going to explain. I just want today for us to focus on the speaking part one. Okay. Uh, Later on, we're going to also practice speaking part two. But for now, let's just focus on these questions that you just practiced. Okay. So let's just keep these pictures. And we're going to see today also our grammar part, which is conditionals. Well, we know conditionals in general, right? We as teachers, we always, well, we teach this to our students. And let me just review very quick how like the four conditionals work. But what I really want for you to learn and to practice is when those conditionals are mixed. So that's something very important. But first of all, very quick, let's go to our, in a general way, how conditionals work. And well, we have the zero conditional. We know that the zero conditional uses if, present simple, and also present simple, right? So remember that most of the times this is just for us to talk about facts, right? So is an example. If you heat water to 100 degrees, it boils, right? So uh, we have here the dependent and also the independent clause. So in this case, that will be the zero conditional. Then the first conditional, we know that we use if, present simple, and then in the dependent clause, I'm sorry, in the independent clause, then we will see will plus the infinitive, right? So for example, if it rains, we'll go to the cinema. Remember, this works for if we want to know exactly what's the result of something that most of the times is true, right? Well, if it rains tomorrow, we'll go to the cinema. So that's something that is not a lie, is not something that is impossible. No, it's possible, and it's a consequence of something that is going to happen in the present, right? So that will be the first conditional. The second conditional, we use it to dream about things, right? To just things that we really want to do, or to some wishes that we might have, right? So in this case, we use if, past simple, would plus infinitive. For example, if I have a lot of money, well, I will travel around the world, right? So in this case, that can be an example. Then the third conditional, we all know that it's about things that we regret, right? That we did in the past and we regret it, and well, but there's nothing else to do. In this case, we use the past perfect, then we use would have plus the past participle, right? That will be the third conditional. For example, if I have gone to bed early, I would have caught the train. Well, it was a consequence. I'm just regretting about that, but there's nothing else to do. So in general, those are the conditions that we as teachers already know. I know that it's just like a general review, but let me very quick, let's go very quick to the part that I really want for us to see today regarding mixed conditionals. And let's start with this first part. And again, please take your notebook, take your pencil, and write all this information down. Whatever things you might think is important, write it down. And because these, believe it or not, this is going to help us a lot in this test. And of course, I'm going to send you some practice about some mixed conditionals so that you can also uh, practice what we have just seen. Okay, mixed conditionals, it says different conditional forms are sometimes mixed, particularly second and third conditional. So most of the times, the ones that we always mix are the second and third conditional. It can be just first, second, and third, and we can also see it backwards, third and second. So it changes in meaning, and that's what we're going to see today. So let's see here very quick. It says a third conditional cause is sometimes linked to a second conditional result to show the imaginary present result of an imaginary past event or situation. I know this can be a little bit confusing, but let's see some examples so that we can see it. So we have here the third conditional. It says, if my parents have never met, well, let's see the second conditional, the result. I wouldn't be here now. Okay, so again, it's both of them are imaginary, right? Because, well, the truth is that, oh, my parents met, and the truth is that I'm here now, right? So we is to talk about some imaginary past and some imaginary result. So in this case, we're going to practice or mix these two conditionals. Okay. Then we have also a second conditional cause is sometimes linked to a third conditional result to show how an ongoing situation produced an effect in the past. Okay, and let's see the example. We have here, if I knew about computers, I would have applied for that IT job. Okay, for that IT job. So again, it's to show how an ongoing situation produces an effect in the past. So something that, well, again, is not something that is real, and that's why the result is not the one that I want. Okay. So in general, those are the conditionals that I really want for you to see. But we have some other conditionals that are going to help us. So it says here, there are a number of other conditional sentences formed with different patterns of tenses. Okay, and that's what I really want for us to see right now. Okay, let's go very quick here what it says. Okay, please write this down. I know it's a little bit sometimes can take a little bit of time, but it's very, very important. And I know that grammar is a little bit boring sometimes, but this part is very, very important for us to be able to study and to see how it works. Okay. Well, we have here, we can use if, when, plus present simple, plus imperative. So how do we use that? For what reason? Well, this is used to make suggestions or to give advice or instructions. For example, if you need a translator, please let me know. Or get off the train when you get to the third station. So we use this formula to give advice or instructions. Secondly, well, if I use when plus present simple or present perfect plus can, could, or would, should, or might, well, how can this work? Well, how can this work? For what reason should I be using this formula in these conditions? Well, this is often used with suggestions or advice. Okay, for example, she could give Martin the message if she sees him later. Or if you've studied English, you should try to speak it. Okay, so again, it's for suggestions or advice. Okay, thirdly, we can use will after if in polite requests. For example, if you will just wait a moment, I'll tell Mr. Jackson you're here. Okay, so again, if in polite requests, this is if you will just wait a moment, I'll tell Mr. Jackson you're here. Please practice this, write your own examples because that is going to help you a lot in this part because I know it can be a little bit confusing at the beginning, but please, my advice for you to write this down, write your own uh, examples. If you need to pause the video, pause it anytime. Look at this, look at the screen right now. Take a look. Again, write your own examples, and that's going to help you a lot. Okay, first of all, no, the other part says, well, To make the request more polite, we can use would. For example, if you would take a seat for a moment, I'll let Mr. Jackson know you are here. So what is the example of will and would? Well, would is just a more polite request. Then we can replace if with should at the beginning of the clause, particularly in very formal or literally English. For example, should you wish to extend your stay, please inform reception. This is sometimes it's a little bit shocking because we as teachers we don't use should instead of if, but we can use it, and you will see it over here in this test. So please don't get confused if you see that should at the beginning. Well, it has the same meaning of if, but it's just for again, particularly in very formal or literally English. Should you wish to extend your stay, please inform reception. Okay. Also, we can use if, it was, or were, not for, or had, not being for, to say that one situation is dependent on another situation or person. Let me repeat it. We can use if it was, were not for, or had not been for, to say that one situation is dependent on another situation or person. For example, I'd go out if it wasn't for this rain. Okay, so I'm depending. So my for me to go outside depends on the rain, right? So well, if it's raining, I won't be able to go out. So that's why I'm depending on that. Also, another example: if I hadn't been for the tour guide, sorry, if it hadn't been for the tour guide, we would never have seen those carvings in the caves. So I'm depending on that tour guide for me for me to be able to watch those carving in the caves. Okay, so those that's something very important also with some mixed conditionals that we are seeing over here. Then two more. Just please hold on there. Don't I don't want for you to get bored. Just hold on for two more. And it says here we can use if plus was or were plus to infinitive to talk about imaginary future situations. If I want to imagine future situations. For example, if the technology were to become available, we will be able to travel across the world in just a couple of hours. Okay? Again, I'm just imagining things, right? And the last one that we have here is that we can use if so, given, otherwise, and provide instead of if. We can use unless instead of if not. Okay? So we can say, given the increase in social network sites, it's easy to make new friends from around the world. Or I don't want to go unless you come with me. Remember, unless we can use it instead of if not. Okay, so in general, these are this is the grammar part that I want for you to practice. And again, we have here this. It says here practice conditionals. I want for you to practice part two, where it says complete the table about the four basic types of conditionals, just for us to practice the four conditionals in general that we saw at the beginning. But something very important that I want for you to do is to do part four, where it says complete the sentences using the words from the box. Okay, this part is very important. We are going to be able, well, I'm going to put the answers on your platform so that you can also check once you finish this practice. Okay, well, in general, I would like for you to practice reading. Again, we're not focusing on the reading test right now, but it's very important for you to start practicing. Please, I want for you to read this text which says culture shock. And once you do that, then I would like for you to answer the questions that we have here on this part. If you don't understand some words, please look at them in the dictionary, try to see them carefully. And this is just in general, just some reading so that we can just start getting used to reading, since sometimes we are not used to it, right? And Well, we have here some general vocabulary that I would like for you to practice, but something that I really want for us to know in this last part of this unit one is listening part four. Okay, and let me explain to you how this part works. So let me just read the first part, and it says, okay, uh, CAE listening part four. Here's what the same task looks like in Cambridge English first FC exam. You have to listen and say why each speaker changed their job. This is an example, right? And we this is how the format of the test is part four, the listening is going to look like. Well, we have here speaker one, speaker two, three, four, and five, and we have different sentences. Normally, there's going to be a question, a general question. For example, the question in this part will be, why? I'm sorry, it says you have to listen and say why each speaker changed their job. So you're going to listen to speaker one, and speaker one is going to tell us why he changed his job. So we need to choose between, well, maybe because depending on what he said in general, well, maybe because some unfriendly colleagues, or poor holiday entitlement, or lacking of sense of purpose, and so on. So we need to really try to listen carefully on what that person is saying. Okay, and it says here, for example, speaker one says, I had to quit my job because I was working 7 days a week and I was close to burn out. Then you write E in, then you write E in box 21. Easy, right? You'll notice that there are more possible answers than questions. So there are three you shouldn't use. So they will give you some extra sentences which you don't need to use. So that's why it's a little bit complicated. Okay, but there something very important and that you need to understand is that in C1, this task is going to be uh, not only the first one, but it's going to be two in one. For example, that same person is going to give two different details in one. So this is the example that we have here. It says, on the left is task one, why people change their jobs. On the right, task two is going to be another question. For example, how they feel about their new jobs. So in general, speaker one is going to, at the same time, he's going to tell you why he changed the job and also how he feels about the new job. So you need to do like you need to be really focused to be able to see which of these. Well, speaker one, yeah, he changed his job because well, he felt the workload, and at the same time, we need to listen why what he likes about the new job, and maybe it can be about happy to feel in control. So this is like two tasks in one, and something that we need to really practice to focus. Remember, in the Cambridge test, the listening part, we're going to listen always to those parts twice. Some people in the first listening, they focus on this first part, right? And in the second listening, they focus on this other. Some people does that, or some people does it at the same time. So whatever it works for you, it will be great. But in general, it gives you some tips that I will put on your platform for you to read. But in general, this is how this listening part works. So I'm going to send you the uh, the listening, the audio, so that you can do this part where it says listening in part four, and it says you will hear 5 short extracts in which speakers are talking about meeting new people. Listen and match each speaker with a photo A and E. But the one that I really want for you to do is part two. It says, listen again, match a speaker with a topic A and H. First of all, we're not going to do like the real thing. We're going step by step. Don't worry. So that's why I want for you to focus on this part, where it just says Match a speaker with a topic A and H. Okay, so that will be the way that I would like for you to end up this lesson. Again, I will put all the answers in the platform so that you can check your own answers. Okay, so that will be the end of unit 1. And again, please, if you have any questions, let me know, and we'll be glad to serve you. So thank you very much for choosing Formarte English Academy. We'll see you then doing Unit 2. Thank you very much.